At this point in my life and in my career, I've accepted that I'm like not the best at anything, and I never really have been. But I try really hard, and I don't think I'm a perfectionist anymore at all. I also think like becoming a parent like kind of beats the perfectionist out of you in a lot
Totally.
of ways.
Totally. Yeah, real life just hammers you down. This is Climbing Gold. Totally. Totally. I mean, it's interesting though to hear you talk about imposter syndrome or just kind of feeling like, you don't belong on a wall like that. Because, I think from an outside perspective, before you ever even climbed on El Cap, you'd already climbed Mount Everest. You'd won international competitions. You were arguably one of the better climbers in the world, or certainly, like in the highest percentage of climbers. And so I think to a layperson, they'd be like, wait, if you don't belong up there, then who does belong up there? You know what I mean? And so it just comes back to like where does like self-confidence come from, or like that sense of belonging? Like where does it come from?
Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, I think it comes obviously like that self-confidence and belonging. I think it comes from within. I think it comes from kind of like being sure of your motivations and doing things for the right reasons in a way. Like I think for me, there's been weak moments where I've felt like, okay, I've dabbled in a lot of things. Like, yeah, I've climbed Everest, but I can always come up with a but, right? Like, I've climbed Everest, but
But with
like
oxygen.
whatever. Yeah, with
Yeah, yeah,
oxygen,
yeah.
but it's not that big of a deal. I've like free climbed Golden Gate in a day, but whatever. Someone did it
But I
better.
bonked my
Whatever.
head on the way up. Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
I've done really well in World Cup competitions, but I like didn't do that many. There's always I can always have a but. And I think that's just kind of like a natural human reaction in a way when you're like feeling insecure or you're feeling like being hard on yourself. And I think I do have a tendency to do that. I've always had a tendency to do that ever since I was really young. Just have that kind of like extra it's comes from being like a perfectionist, right? Like, oh, I got an A, but I didn't get an A plus, right? I've just been that way in my life, and I've kind of had to be aware of it. I think that's a part of who I am. But I think as I've grown up and matured, like I've been able to recognize that part of me and think more clearly about like what I want and who I am and how I want to show up for myself and for others around me. And it's not that way. Like I don't want to be that like self-deprecating person all the time who's always putting myself down and kind of like punishing myself.
Mm.
Um so I think that, yeah, I think it comes from within. I think it comes from having a goal, being really passionate about a goal and not being afraid to go for it. And then kind of just controlling what you can control. Like I can't control what other people say about it. I can't control what other people feel about it. But I can control how I feel about it and what I learn from it.
I'm kind of curious. You call yourself a perfectionist, or sort of type A, whatever, like driven. And I feel like a a problem for many perfectionists is not doing things that they want to do because they can't do it perfectly. Like if you can't do it right, don't do it at all type of thing. And I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, I know a few people who are kind of like that, where it's like if they're going to do something, they have to do it properly. But if they're not positive they can do it correctly, then they just don't do it. Things like that. And so watching the film, I mean, this is, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, but you send, big surprise, like you do it. But it's so scrappy. I mean, you fight to the death, you fight to the very
Hmm.
limit. It's like there's blood, sweat, and tears, and it's like max effort. And I think that's what makes it so powerful is that you see the audience gets to see you dig all the way, like just give everything you have. And that's, I mean, it's incredible and it's super moving. I'm curious, is that the experience that you were looking for up on the wall? Like, were you trying to dig that deep, or would you prefer to have just hiked it casually in 6 hours and been like, oh, what an easy day out? You know what I mean? Like how much of it was an exploration of your own limits versus trying to achieve a specific route and
Yeah, I think that's a great question because we also like John talked to me a lot post like filming the film about like the idea of perfection and the pursuit of perfection. He actually wanted to name the film something to do with perfection for a while there. And in a lot of interviews, I was like asked a lot about that. So it is kind of like a theme of the movie, I think, in a way. Is this idea of wanting to be perfect and doing everything perfectly, but then recognizing that my absolute limit just didn't allow for perfection. It didn't allow, it allowed for a lot of like downfalls and a lot of vulnerabilities and kind of a lot of bearing all of my imperfections in a way. So I think that I think that the objective did kind of do that for me. I think at the outset, when I first came up with the idea, I would have preferred to just kind
You
of
were hoping to hike
hiked
it.
it
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
been
totally.
like, look at me, like this is amazing. Like I'm just like everybody, I'm just like Alex. Just casual day out, super civilized. But I think as you get older and as you really like dig your heels into things and things don't go the way that you want them to go, you kind of naturally learn to accept those parts of yourself that may not be perfect. Like I think, at this point in my life and in my career, I've accepted that I'm like not the best at anything, and I never really have been. But I try really hard. And I don't think I'm a perfectionist anymore at all. I also think like becoming a parent like kind of beats the perfectionist out of you in a lot
Totally.
of ways.
Totally. Yeah, real life just hammers you down. You're like,
I
goodbye,
was like
perfection.
resisting it for so long, and then I had a kid and I was like, "Oh wow, that's not happening."
Yeah, you're
Um
like, now I'm just wiping the poop off all the things in the house. You're like sad. Like things just
happened this
happen.
morning. We're
Oh
working
yeah?
on we're in potty training mode.
Oh wow. Oh
It was
wow, that's
an
exciting though.
epic failure this morning.
Oh
um
wow.
But yeah, like I guess it's a good point. I've always been willing to try things. I think I've been pretty good at that. I think that's one of my strengths is that I'm actually pretty okay with becoming a beginner again at things and really fighting for things and trying really hard even when I know that failure is like a super likely possibility. Um so I guess climbing and parenthood has taught me to not try to be perfect.
You're like a really open-hearted perfectionist. Where you're like, oh, willing to try things, willing to see where they go, even though you want to do them great,
Yeah, but
still
I still
try
get
them
really
anyway.
pissed when it doesn't go my way.
Yeah, well,
If that,
yeah. Yeah. So, what did you learn from the whole process? Like seeing the film, like what do you feel like you gained from the whole experience?
I think for me, I think I learned that let me try to think about this for a minute.
Obviously, not that much.
I
You're
didn't
like,
learn anything. I
yeah,
learned
you
nothing.
need to do it again. Next
I
time,
think
do a core zone in a day.
I think
See if you learn
I
something.
mean, I do think I did the thing after I did it where I was like, "Oh, this isn't good enough." And I was like kind of proud of myself, but I also wasn't proud of myself. Like there was a part of me that was like a little bit ashamed in a way, like what you said, that it was like took so much effort and I dug so deep and I had to try so hard. Um, and there was a part of me that like I remember that I didn't really let myself feel proud
Hmm.
or excited or accomplished because it was like, oh, well, I could have done it better or someone else will do it better than me. It's that sort of feeling.
Hmm.
Um, but since the films come out, I've sort of seen how people react to it and how they relate to it, and I've seen how, uh, like, I really wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, and I think that's something to be proud of. I really
Totally.
wasn't afraid to try really hard and to tell the story in its, like, full, in all of it, without masking it in any way. And I think that's something to be proud of. And I experienced like a moment of feeling really proud of like myself and of everyone involved at the film premiere in Telluride. It really was this really powerful experience. And I think I was like proud of us in a way. And I think it taught me that it really was like this team effort. I mean, I keep going back to the filmmakers, but like it just wouldn't have been it would have been a cool achievement of mine if it was just me, without
Hmm.
them. And I'm just really proud and honored that like people believed in the story enough to create a film out of it. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more proud of it now than I was then, in all honesty. And I think that that's what I took away from it is like it just was I'm just proud that I was able to like keep going up there and pouring myself into it. Um I think that's a proud effort. I think it takes like a special kind of like perseverance or stubbornness or stupidity or whatever you want to call it. to just keep trying again.